Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. Happy Friday. It is November 22nd, 2024. We are live on the YouTubes. We're doing live tarot readings this evening. So if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, like this video, say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from below. I know we've got a number of people who are already here. I hope your guys' weekend is off to a great start. I see people talking about Mercury retrograde already in full effect. It is kicking everybody's ass, myself included. So I hope you guys are well. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name's Candace. I'm a Western astrologer as well as a tarot reader, and we are here every Friday. We alternate every other week. We do live readings on the channel. You can scan the QR code in the center of the screen. You can get in the queue to book a reading. So we are doing one card for $20, 3 cards for $40, or you can join my level 3 memberships. You can get a reading with me once a month. You can be a part of the level 3. And in doing so, you're going to get a reading from me once a month. You don't have to wait. We take the level 3 members first, and you support me as a full-time content creator. You want to know more about me and my work, check out the links in the description of this video. You can head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. While you're there, sign up for my newsletter. I promise I won't spam you, but trust me, this is a week that you guys want to sign up for my newsletter because all of my new products are going to be coming out for Black Friday. So we're starting our Black Friday sale this weekend. We've got 2025 lunar calendars, astrology calendars, personal calendars, discounts on courses. We're going to have products, all kinds of stuff that's going to be coming out. And we'll be kind of updating that throughout this next week as we're kind of getting into the holiday. We've got a number of people who are in the chat. So I want to say hello to Dorothy, Diana, Sonia. What's up, guys? How's it going? Kaja's here. Happy Friday, everyone. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you can see the stream. Make sure you're subscribed so that way you know when all my videos are coming out throughout the month. We're here Tuesday, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays. We are doing tarot this evening, so if you're watching, we're live on the 22nd. If you're watching on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we're no longer live. Please don't send any payments. If you do, we will send them back to you. We're going to be doing live tarot. You guys are going to see the above shot this evening. You're not going to see me, but don't worry, I'll see you guys soon. And I will give you a readout of who I've already got in the queue. So basically the way that this works is when you scan the QR code, please input in the memo box any information pertaining to your question that you would like me to know. I'll be reading the question live on the video, and then we're going to pull some tarot cards and give you some insight as to what we've got going on. For who we already have, who's level 3, Diana and Dorothy got their questions in, so I am happy to help you guys. We've also got Miranda, Silk. We've also got Jovinanda and Hannah. You guys are all in the queue. What's up, Kelly? What's up, Rachel? How are you guys doing? Welcome to Friday Night Tarot. We are going to start with our level 3 members. So if there's anybody else other than Dorothy and Diana, please let me know and I'll make sure that I get you in. Otherwise, we will be back next week. We will be doing live astrology. So that's going to be for the new moon in Sagittarius. So you guys can catch me next week if you want an astrology reading. All right, so I'll call out your name when your reading is kind of coming up. So we're first going to be starting with Diana. What's up, Diana? Sounds like you sent your question and then they went missing. So Diana says, hey, Candace, I'm cashing in. Don't have anything pressing, thank goddess. So general pull about my Irish visit from December 23rd through January 9th. All right, well, let's take a look. Let's see what the cards have to say for you. I feel like a blackjack dealer or something right now. You only see the above shot. You don't see me. All right. Well, let's see what these cards have to say for your trip that you're going to be going on in this order. Okay. So we have got the Four of Swords, the Temperance, and the Knight of Wands. All right. So basically the way that I kind of read this, the Four of Swords is talking about like reevaluating, kind of thinking long and hard about probably making some big decisions while you're on this trip. Usually like the Four of Swords is resting, recuperation, reevaluating. It's about not making any physical moves. It can mean that you need some downtime. It can also mean that, you're thinking about feeling your way into things before you make any physical decisions, like the need to really think things over, process stuff, and also maybe get some like much needed kind of like rest. I know every time you go back and forth, getting back and forth is quite the trek if you're going all the way to obviously Ireland. But also I think like the Four of Swords with the Temperance card talks a lot about being in a situation where you're like, everything's a matter of timing, right? And like knowing that you can't rush the process. So maybe you're like, I'm going over there, I have some ideas for some things that I want to do, but I'm not forcing myself to like maintain any specific schedule, not having to be anywhere at any given particular time, giving yourself a little bit of like leeway and not feeling like you have to have an agenda while you're there. Four of Swords and the Temperance are both cards that also deal with healing in different ways. I feel like the Four of Swords is like more like mental recuperation, versus Temperance, which can be also about like physical healing and alchemy and Reiki and hands-on healing and sound bowls and other things. Like maybe you feel like you're going on this trip and you're wanting to connect with other people, and like rather than being the person who's like the party coordinator or you're running around getting everything done, you're like, it would be nice, to kind of like have people that can kind of like help me, assist me, heal me. Even if you're, maybe going and mixing and mingling with like friends and like socializing, this can be a trip that's more about recalibration and like taking it easy. And Temperance can mean also that, going over there and going with the flow and being like, what, if certain things line up and if it's meant to be to make it easier for me to kind of come back here or be here more seriously, so be it. I'm just going to kind of go with the flow. The Knight of Wands is a cool card because this is obviously a little bit more like upbeat and uplifting. More so, especially, this is like a fire element. So like looking at the Four of Swords and the Temperance card, it makes me feel like you've been kind of taking it easy, reflecting, pausing, like not trying to figure out everything all the time and like trying to be like go, go, go 24/7. And maybe you come back, rest and recharge, right? Like the Knight of Swords can talk about like feeling inspired and like ready to get going on some creative endeavors and like feeling more passionate about your plans in the future, especially when it comes to, your professional stuff. The Wands deals very specifically with creative projects and like being out in the world and showing people what you've got. So you may come back from a period of not having to feel like you've been pushing yourself to feeling like a sense of renewal and feeling like inspired and you're ready to kind of get moving and shaking with some stuff. The Knight of Wands can also talk about that there's other travels. It's like you go over there and you're like, okay, well, we're just going to kind of take it easy. We don't really have anything planned. And then all of a sudden it's like, you guys decide, well, do we want to go and do a day and a night in another place? Like, is it very spur of the moment? Do you have exciting news or a message that comes your way revolving around some kind of creative collaboration or potential future travel or plans that you're kind of putting together? Most likely, yeah, you may see something like that kind of comes through. I also feel like this could be a message that's coming from another fire sign. So it can be about, connecting with a Leo. It can be connecting with an Aries or a Sag. Obviously you're a Leo rising, so it can mean that, maybe the Mars retrograde is like, going from your first house into your 12th house, and it's about kind of resting and recuperating and kind of like finding time to like feel inspired again and not like pushing it. Regardless of what it is, I feel like coming back from this trip, you're definitely going to feel like there is a newfound sense of like passion and direction when it comes to some of your creative work. I also feel like you're probably going to come home and you're already going to have plans worked out revolving around like when you're going back or when he's coming to see you. So you're kind of feeling incentivized by that, you're like, okay, I went there, saw him, and then also like, coming back, we have plans to see each other and like, this is where we're going, or you're excited about the future and what's going to be unfolding. My advice is go into this with no set expectations, no plans, nothing set in stone, purely just to go there, be in the moment, rest, recuperate, spending time in nature, and like let the universe intervene, right? And being that Mars has like that connection for you with, your emotions, your home and your family, and like that connection also to your belief system and traveling and like the higher mind, I think that the retrograde for you is going to give you time away in a foreign country, quite literally retrograde in the 12th house, while simultaneously it's going to be giving you the opportunity to like redirect some of your energy, redirect some of your intentions, feel inspired again, feel motivated again. And like through that downtime, you're going to be able to kind of recalibrate and figure out what you're going to be putting your time and your energy into. And more so, what location is going to be best for you? And then, you know, coming out of it, I think that that Knight of Wands is kind of like, okay, now I know where I'm going. I can come up with the plans. I feel good about, you know, what direction I'm going in or where I'm supposed to be. I'm very kind of excited about the future. Okay, so it does look like it's going to be an adventure for sure. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Deanna. Are there any other level 3 people? I know that we have Dorothy as well. I think you're gonna have so much fun. It's such a fun time of year to be over there. I love when I went over there and I was there for about 3 weeks, that entire area, and it's so beautiful during the holidays. Other than Dorothy, I've got Miranda, Silk, Jovi, Hannah. Am I missing anybody? If you hear your name, that means that I've got you. And if you're just popping in, you want to get a reading, scan the QR code. You can get in the queue. It looks like Tricia, Nancy, and Rachel, you guys all got in there. So if you heard your name, I've got you. Be talking to Dorothy next, who is a level 3 member. So thanks, Dorothy. And those of you guys who are just tuning in, make sure you give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, say hello, let me know where you're tuning in from. Dorothy says, it's me. I had a not as fun question, the TLDR. I need a tarot pull for what may be coming next at work. Love you. All right, well, let's take a look. Let's see if we can give Dorothy some insight about what she's got going on at work. A little different now with Saturn direct, Dorothy. In your 10th house, conjunct your moon. Definitely a different vibe. There is like a sense of being like, oh, something's happening when it comes to work stuff. So let's see. What can we tell Dorothy in regards to that? Not a bad card. We've got the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, so Knight of Pentacles can be talking about that there is some sense of like a message coming. Like knights are dedicated to their cause. They bring you something. Okay, of all of the knights, this is my favorite knight, I think. Because this is the most reliable, right? He's slow and steady, wins the race. This can be messages about security, stability, money, resources. It can be also regarding like salary decisions. Whether or not you're going to get a position, you know, whether or not you're going to be getting benefits, if you're going to be moving up in your position. I think Saturn being direct is a good indication that these things may actually be coming. I think also, you know, the Knight of Pentacles can be saying that, you know, you're getting word that these conversations are going to be had, or you're getting word that there is going to be some progress in this department. Obviously, he's carrying a pentacle, so sometimes that's kind of indicating something is going to be offered, right? So it could be a job offer, it could be a new position. It could be you, that you're kind of seeking something. And if you're kind of saying, well, should I stay or should I go? Should I see what else is out there? This is definitely a card that's saying you have a lot to offer. And if you're considering looking at other positions or other kind of places or other, you know, kind of fields, like you should look. Because likely you may actually find something and somebody's going to kind of see your skills and what you kind of bring to the table. They're going to see your value, right? He's carrying the coins. So there's something valuable that would kind of put you kind of front and center for a position. Now, knights also talk about change, going from one place to another, one position to another, traveling for work, or literally, you know, considering that you're going to be working in another location. I always, whenever I pull one card, I always flip it over so I kind of see what the bottom card is, just to kind of get some confirmation. I mean, hello, Knight of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles. This can be saying that there is an offer that is being presented your way. Queen of Pentacles, strong, committed, good business sense, savvy, can be talking about some kind of maturing, you know, when it comes to your professional life. Could be you, right? But it can also be saying that something is being brought your way by means of a relationship that you may be having with another woman, or somebody is giving you some kind of some kind of support, or they're giving you some kind of bonus, or they're giving you some kind of recognition. And it does look like it's a positive thing. They're facing each other. They have something to exchange. There's something that's being offered. She's pleased with what's being brought her way. So I feel like it could just be, about you getting like recognition where recognition is due. Dorothy says, I love this. I'm relieved. I've had Mars square natal Pluto, so I've been trying to be patient. Well, Knight of Pentacles is patient. And this is also a card that talks a lot about that patience and persistence pays off. So it might mean that you're getting that from somebody who you're kind of working with or dealing with at work that's been a little bit difficult to deal with, or, they're a little frosty, but likely it might materialize as something that's going to be beneficial for you, and finally getting the recognition and like the pat on the back that you deserve. Okay? Hope that's helpful for you, Nancy. Sorry, Dorothy. I'm looking at Nancy. Hi, Nancy. Dorothy. All right, so let's see, who else do we have here? We've got Miranda, we've got Silk. And I know there's still some people coming in. David just popped in. I got you too, David. All right, so let's see what Miranda says. Miranda, you were one of the first people to get in. Miranda says, reading for a Scorpio rising. I think I would ask any Scorpio rising, like, how is Pluto treating you? As a Libra rising, I'm pleased to have Pluto out of my 4th house, but as a Scorpio sun, I feel like I'm still in the heat of it, All right, so what can we tell Miranda, who is a Scorpio rising? All right, so in this order, we've got the Devil, we've got the 8 of Swords, and then we've got the 9 of Cups. Working your way out of a really interesting situation there, Miranda. It's funny that we were just talking about like Pluto. I kind of see that as like the Devil card. The Devil card could have connections and associations with Saturn as well, but there's definitely a little bit of both there. So what I have here first is the Devil card. So this is a major arcana. It's one of the first major 22. And the Devil card obviously always deals with like this theme revolving around limitation, feeling trapped, feeling stuck. It's almost like someone or something having like its thumb on you. And it can be an energy that is like oppressive, right? Like the Devil card, you see like the two people that are kind of like chained up, and he's kind of, got them right in his claws and in his clutches, and he's not allowing them to go anywhere. When the Devil card comes up, especially in the previous position, it's talking about like working your way out of a situation where you have been feeling like, you can't get unstuck. I think about, Pluto going into your 4th house, which could be about major changes and transformations emotionally with the home and the family and power struggles. But I also think about Saturn and Saturn's kind of connection to Capricorn / the Devil card. And this can be talking about like Saturn going through the 5th house, that a lot of the emotional things that are kind of happening for you right now are challenging. For single people, it can be dating. For committed relationships, it can be, well, do I really love this person? Or, do I really want to make this personal sacrifice for this relationship? Dealing with inner child stuff, dealing with, children-related issues as well. So that may be talking about where you're trying to kind of get out of this feeling of being like stuck emotionally and not being able to find happiness, not being able to find joy. These two cards are some of the darker, heavier cards in the tarot, by the way. Okay, good news is that it ends well. But it does seem to me like there is this sense of reflecting on what hasn't been working, where have I been blocked, like why haven't I been able to move forward, why has there been something that's been kind of hanging over my head. And also this feeling that you can't get unstuck. 8 of Swords is in the right now position. This is being trapped mentally, not physically, but being trapped mentally. So both of these talk about being in a situation you feel like you can't get out of. The 8 of Swords can mean that there's fears, phobias, irrational kind of blockages, not wanting to acknowledge or kind of see the truth, being afraid to kind of acknowledge certain truths that are going on. But the swords, the 8 of Swords is all about like mental limitations. And so like, even though she's blindfolded and she's like tied up, it's a figure of like her imagination, right? Like this isn't real. Like she could take off the blindfold. She could kind of, walk right away from the swords. Granted, it's over water. So it does talk about having to use her intuition, having to process emotions. But right now it's kind of saying like there is some fear in moving into the unknown, moving away from situations that haven't been working, and saying to yourself, like, I know I need to make a change. I know I need to kind of get somewhere new, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid to start over. I'm afraid to go in a different direction. I wonder if that's Pluto in your 4th, right? I also wonder if it's Mars as a Scorpio rising. Mars is in your 10th house, which is generally pretty brave, and you can get a lot of work done. You can be super, kind of productive. But it is going to retrograde and it's going to oppose Pluto. So you're kind of like, well, I want to make changes, out in the world professionally, but, I'm feeling emotionally stunted or held back, or there's some home or family issues that are kind of going on that's keeping me from really being able to kind of step into this. Once again, it's mental limitations. Okay. So what you tell yourself, how you speak to yourself, what you think, what you're talking about, all of these things are going to have a real big impact on you mentally right now. Then we've got the 9 of Cups. So the 9 of Cups talks a lot about being in a situation or in a position where all is well that ends well. This is like the green light card, getting what you want, wish fulfillment, something being granted, being totally, tickled pink that everything panned out very well. I kind of see these cards as almost like you're having or needing to have a trust fall with the universe, where what's been happening or where you've been stuck or where you've been limited, it ain't working. And it's not working and you don't want to be there, or there's something that's kind of holding you back. And even though you need to make a change, you're afraid, or maybe there is this sense of kind of holding yourself back, or not really seeing the truth, or not really wanting to acknowledge the truth that something hasn't been working. But if you're willing to make this change, because this is a minor card, if you're willing to make this change, and embrace not knowing what's next, okay? And say, that's okay. We're going to kind of roll with it. We're going to see where things go, even though it's scary. And that could be home changes, family changes, career changes, what have you. You're going to be rewarded, right? Like this is so polar opposite of these two cards. It's basically saying you're going to have clarity. You'll be happy. There's going to be a sense of feeling fulfilled. You're going to get what you want. But we can't be too entirely focused on what hasn't been working, what you're afraid of, where the blockages are. We can't be super negative and kind of pessimistic and closed-minded. We have to be like, okay, this situation is not working. We're moving forward. And as a Scorpio rising, I would say become friends with the death card right now. The death card didn't come up, which is surprising, but I can see that there is some resistance to change. But the death card always talks about okay, yes, something is ending. It's over. Let's acknowledge the ending so we can move forward. Right now, it's like you don't want to acknowledge the ending because you can't even comprehend, moving forward and what that looks like. So you're not really accepting an ending basically right now. But if you can wrap your head around that and be willing to kind of overcome some of these blockages maybe that you've had with the, Capricorn area of your life, which is the 3rd house mentally. Capricorn also is tied to Saturn. Saturn's in your 5th house of love and romance, and also possibly something that's kind of connected to Pluto, where there's some emotional kind of clearings that you need to do. The 4th house is the past, by the way. And I would just say with any Pluto transit, you want to be really careful, because I have found that generally Pluto has a tendency of going, well, what are you afraid of? And if you give that to Pluto, if you tell Pluto, this is my fear, or this is what I'm afraid, is going to happen, he will literally serve it up to you on a silver platter. That's what he does. So be careful how much power you give to your fears, right? To the things that you're kind of feeding, and be more focused on where you're going and seeing that this is a positive thing, that you've kind of hit a dead end because you're really kind of going in a much more kind of optimistic direction. Okay. Good luck. I hope that's helpful for you. We've got Silk, and then we've got Jovi. And if you guys are just tuning in, you can get in the queue. You can scan the QR code to get a reading if you would like. All right, so let's see what Silk has to say. What's up, Silk? All right, Silk says, Dear Candace, I have been associating repeating twos with a person who is no longer in my life. I know that repeating numbers are common now, but I feel like I'm receiving a sign. I started to feel skeptical and thought the more I notice it, the more I'll see it. But I felt called to ask you, is there a specific significance to this number repeating? Well, I'm a big believer of those repeating numbers myself, but we will take a look. Let's see. So is there anything to these repeating twos? Is there a connection here, or is something off? What do we need to know? The cards that I have for you are the Five of Wands, the Five of Cups, and the Tower. I'm wondering, like, what repetition are you seeing? I'm curious. If you're here, let me know. Are you seeing just 22, 222, 22, 22? Like, what are you seeing? Nope, you're coming up next, though. I have not done your reading yet. Right? 222. All right. So, before I even get into the cards, which obviously are kind of gnarly, I would say that for me, it's kind of weird because twos obviously are about balance and harmony, right? Just in general. And when I think of the number 2, I think of the connection to the second card of the tarot, which is your intuition and wisdom, inner wisdom. Okay. Obviously that card's not coming up, but it can be about like listening to your intuition as to how you're feeling about that person in that situation. Like, what is your gut telling you? All right, obviously heavy cards. 5, Tower. I mean, 5 of Wands is a chaotic situation. It's combative, but I have found that when this card is coming up, when you're asking a question about being like, okay, can you confirm something that I'm feeling? Am I feeling the right way? Like 5 of Wands makes me feel like this is about fighting a feeling off and trying to turn it off or ignore it or not wanting to hear it or not wanting to see the message or not wanting to receive it. Obviously, that's in the past. This can also be a card that kind of comes up where you're feeling like you're getting hit over the head several times. And I don't know if maybe that's the feeling of you just keep seeing it, so you're feeling that way, or maybe you feel like you've gone through a situation with this person several times and you learn the lesson time and time again. So you're like, why the heck is this still coming up? What's going on? What am I missing? 5 of Cups is a card that is about disappointment. This is also a card that you want to be careful with because this can indicate that you can get stuck there. We think about 4 of Cups, which is just kind of like not feeling, really into or supported by anything. Nothing really kind of makes you happy or phases you anymore. And then when you get into the 5 of Cups, it's like, then you get stuck in that hole and you don't know how to come out of it. So I feel like in many ways, the twos kind of coming up are just reinforcing and reminding you like, hey, maybe that's coming up because somebody's thinking about you. Maybe this is coming up because somebody's reminiscing about you. Because I think this has a connection to another person. I don't think the universe is trying to intervene and they're trying to tell you, hey, you need to get back with this person or something's going on here. I think you're kind of getting hit by somebody else's like SOS signals that they're sending out psychically into the ethers. And you're picking up on it. That's what I think is happening. 5 of Wands with the 5 of Cups is kind of like, I'm trying to fight these feelings off. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I've already experienced enough kind of disappointment, or maybe there has been a sense of, not being completely fulfilled in the interaction that we've had, or, I'm disappointed because it didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. Obviously, you see somebody standing with a gray sky covered with a black cloak. They're depressed. They're covering themselves. And the cups are all spilled at their feet, which means something happened in regards to the romantic relationship or the connection between the two of you where, a third party got involved, there was another person, somebody had mixed feelings, they didn't know what they wanted, and there was like a sense of disconnect and turning away from the interaction. There's still love there because the 2 of Cups obviously is standing up behind. So it's saying there's still love and feelings there, even though one person has disengaged, disconnected, or isn't in communication. And maybe you're feeling that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you're feeling that there is like this feeling of remorse, wanting to reconnect, feeling disappointed, being like, man, is it too late? And then we have the Tower card coming up. I'm a big believer that when we have like tethered connections to people that we've been involved with, even if we're done, that ship has sailed, we've moved on with our lives, whatever, if those cords have not been cut, then when other people are going through shit, or when other people are going through crisis and they're thinking emotionally about, okay, I don't have stability, I'm kind of spinning, who was my grounded kind of connection? Who was my safe space? Who would I go back to at this time? Who's going to provide me with security? They can kind of send out their tentacles and their tethers, right, when they're in crisis. Personally, because all of these cards seem to symbolize this might be something that's kind of going on, I think that you're kind of getting hit with somebody's like psychic SOS signals and you're like, I'm conflicted, what's going on? Like, why am I seeing the signals? I know this is connected to them. Like, what's the deal? Am I supposed to be reaching out? Are they coming back? Like, you know, the Tower card really confirms for me that I don't think there's going to be anything different that would happen than what's happened in the past if you guys were to reconnect. I think you're still going to see that there is some sense of somebody who's like interested, ready, and engaged, the other person who's either got mixed feelings, or they're still healing something, or they're not ready, or they're confused. And then it leads to a Tower situation or a Tower moment where it's like, okay, the whole thing kind of gets toppled and there's nothing really solid that's supporting the union between the two of you. So you're not going to see a different ending, basically. This is me saying to you that it's less about, oh, the universe is trying to orchestrate you guys reconnecting. It's more about the two of you guys still being tethered and possibly being in a situation where, you know, the two of you are still kind of connected in some way. And I feel like I would be really cautious with responding to some of these psychic SOS symbols or signals, because I feel like, you know, this is somebody who's still going through something. And also maybe, you know, you're moving on. Like, that's the other thing about being kind of connected to somebody in this way. If you're moving on, or you're detaching, or you're finally starting to heal and let that go, like the ego side of that person, you know, subconsciously can feel that. And they can be like, oh my God, something's going on. Like, I'm pulling and nobody's responding on the other line. You know, I don't feel that person anymore, or I don't feel like I have that kind of pull with them, or maybe they're kind of like, you know, moving on with their life. That's the vibe that I'm getting from this. And so, you know, this can be reminding you, you know, tap into your inner tuition and your inner wisdom. That, you know, yes, the universe is sending you a message that you got to kind of trust the process, but also it's about balance and harmony in relationships. These cards are saying that there hasn't been a lot of balance and harmony in your guys' connection. So, you know, trust whatever is kind of coming up for you right now, that, you know, there is a connection there, but I don't think it's going to necessarily materialize the way that you would want it to. I don't think it would be very different than what's happened in the past. So maybe when you start seeing those numbers, I would just make a conscious effort to be like, okay, I'm going to turn within, maybe spend a little bit of time in meditation. Maybe you visualize connecting with this person and being like, you know, I'm picking up the phone. They call me. I talk to them on the phone. What do you need? What do you want? If you want to connect with me, you're going to have to connect with me in real life. And oh, by the way, please don't come unless you've like cleaned up your shit. Like, work through whatever you're working through, right? Don't just kind of scramble and energetically be reaching for somebody who's going to help give you stability and help ground you. Because that's kind of the vibe that I'm kind of getting here. Okay, so be careful with that Tower card. Be careful. And I wonder if they're feeling that you are more or less moving on. I hope that was helpful. Definitely difficult when you're getting that psychic SOS call. I always tell my clients, tell them to come correct. Try the visualization of the phone call. It really helps. And then sometimes like they get it, you know, they'll get it. And then all of a sudden you'll get some bizarre email or message that's like, hi, you know, how are you? She says, it's crazy because I see it when I'm on dates with other people. Trust the process. What's up, Shoes Love? How's it going? What's up, Hannah? We're making our way towards you. Actually, we've got Jovi, Hannah, and then Miss Martin. You guys are all next. Thank you guys for your patience. David's here. What's up, David? All right, well, let's see what Jovi says. Says, I got a new job in a sector I do not have experience in, though through managing operations and finances, which I've always done. I'm working with an all-male leadership. Will this new opportunity bring me longevity and growth for me, or is this just a passing opportunity? Let's take a look. So is there any long-term opportunities with this position? It's all dudes. Is it a passing thing? What's up, Robbie? We got Queen of Pentacles, the Hermit card, and the Page of Pentacles. You know, I'm not mad at these cards. These are pretty decent, actually. Queen of Pentacles, you know, I don't know your if you're an earth sign or your rising sign or any of that stuff, but I wonder if you have anything that would be in Taurus, Capricorn, kind of Virgo. But the Queen of Pentacles talks about holding on to something. Like, this is about nurturing, possessing, developing qualities, developing skills. It can also be about working with somebody who comes in to kind of help you nurture and kind of develop your career. Cap rising. Okay, cool. So, this can be talking to you personally, being like you're coming into a period where you're focusing more on the development of these new skills, kind of presenting yourself in a different way professionally, and being able to kind of focus on stability, growth, and, like your money. So this is positive. That factored in also with the Hermit card tells me that you're committed to staying, right? Like there can be a part of you that's like, okay, yes, I need to get a paycheck. I need to be making money. I need to be doing my thing. But this also coming up with like the Hermit card makes me feel like you're giving yourself the time and space to explore this option, that you're not kind of closed-minded and looking at it as, well, it is what it is. I'll do it for now. And then like, we'll see. Like, no, you're giving it a fair shot. As a Capricorn rising, Jupiter's in your 6th house this year. So it means that you have an opportunity to expand in your daily routine. Maybe you're working a new schedule, you have a new job, you're in a new workspace. And it's squaring Saturn. And so you saw this in August, you're going to see it again. That's going to be happening in December, which means that there can be this feeling of like mentally trying to wrap your head around making a change at work. And so give yourself a little bit of time, be patient is my advice. It does look like maybe right around the time we're getting into like maybe the eclipses in Virgo, that could be a time where there is like a turning point. Okay, so Virgo, obviously Virgo season is generally August into September. But I think this is talking about the eclipses, which will be taking place for you in a fellow sister earth sign. It's going to be taking place in your 9th house in the spring, in March, and it's going to be trining Capricorn. And when these eclipses are happening, the ruler is Aries. The ruler is Mercury. It's going to be in Aries. So it's going to be retrograde in your 4th. Okay, so it can mean that there's changes going on with your home, your living situation. Maybe that is somehow influencing how you're working, where you're working, and like you cross that bridge when you get to it. But this could also mean that you're kind of turning within and like intuitively, on the inside that, this may not have been the job that you were going to go after first, or that you would have been kind of seeking. This might not have been your first kind of ideal kind of position. However, I see this Hermit card coming up saying that it's highlighting and kind of showing you where you have the growth, you have the capability, you have the wisdom, like you can actually do this. Even if you haven't been in this particular field before, like it doesn't matter. Like you have the capabilities. Clearly, you know something about finances. So, you're saying that, you're managing operations and finances, which you've never done, but it looks like you're going to do very well when it comes to, managing money. I think you're going to surprise yourself with just how orderly you are and how on top of things you can be, right? Capricorn placements are really great for that, by the way. Anyway, 2, I think about then, the 3rd card being the Page of Pentacles, which is almost seen as, it's kind of funny. This is like a seed. Like you plant the seed and then, especially the Pentacles is like, here's a new idea. Here's a new option. I'm learning new skills. I'm developing. I'm kind of getting my feet wet. And I'm planting the seed in hopes that it grows and it turns into like, a tree, right? That's going to bear fruit. So at the very least, this is a position where you're going to bring in the experience. You're going to bring in the skills. You're going to be in a position where you can only go up from here. And whether that's going and seeking another job in the future and you're able to utilize these skills and be like, hey, I did this, and it can actually help you when it comes to making headway in your career. But I personally think you will stay. I'm seeing what you're saying. You confirmed you are moving in March. Yes, you are. And that's going to be some stuff that's going to kind of move some things around. Do you have to change where you're working based off of where you're living? Are you able to work remotely? Do you work from home? Do you, relocate somewhere and then you're working in a new office? I don't know, but some of these things might come up. But I would stay because I feel like I don't see any threats revolving around men, to be honest with you. Because if you look at this, the Hermit card is facing the Queen and, he's shining a light being like, hey, let me see what she's all about. This tells me that there isn't this over competitive weirdness at work. There are people who are saying, hey, we'll show you the way, right? We'll train you. We'll give you the insights. We'll help you, we'll kind of try to nurture maybe some of your skills, but there's no weirdness because you're working around a bunch of dudes. And then also the Page of Pentacles is like, then you feel a little bit more comfortable and you're kind of getting the hang of it and you're developing these skills and, you see what kind of growth happens. I mean, I would advise you, at least stay through the spring, right? If for whatever reason life happens, you're moving, things change and there ends up being a change, so be it. But I like you being here for the time being. I like the skills that you're going to be developing. And I think that it's really going to be helping invest in a better paying job and like a career, right? Like in the future. So you'll have skills that are going to kind of pay off. So yeah, 100%, I think stay, and I don't think that you're wasting your time. Okay. And you're a lot better with money than you give yourself credit for here. So pretty cool for you to be able to get some of that on the job experience, and don't hesitate to kind of ask for guidance because you've got people who are willing to help. We've got Hannah and then Miss Martin and Nancy. You're very welcome. All right. So let's see what Hannah has to say. She says, hello, my question is, what do I need to know right now? That's probably my favorite question. All right, well, let's see. What do we need to tell Hannah? What does Hannah need to know right now? Let's pull out a card for her. And I'm going to give you the bottom of the deck as well as confirmation, but I'll show that to you in a second. We have got the Ace of Swords, which is a cool card, actually. And you already saw a sneak peek, so I'll show it to you. Confirmed with the Knight of Wands. So communication and time is kind of like of the essence right now. All right. So there's 4 aces. Aces always represent a new beginning. It's initiating a new energy. So whenever you see a sword come up, right, this is information, knowledge, truth, communications, contracts, learning. It's mental stuff. And the Ace of Swords is a card that generally comes up that's like, now's the time to have the conversation. Now's the time to issue the contract. Now's the time to write the book. Start doing the research, like that kind of stuff. Usually when the Ace of Swords comes up, it means that there is some really important conversation that's about to go down, or maybe that there is something that's on your mind or something that you're kind of wanting to kind of, finally kind of come out with. Swords are funny things. They can be used to draw a line in the sand, which can really show you or show another person like, hey, here's the line, don't cross it. But it can also be used in a defensive manner where, you can pick it up and you can point it at somebody and you can use it to kind of defend yourself and also kind of start a little bit of like a ruckus. So it's reminding you that your thoughts, your ideas, your words, what you have to say, how you're communicating with other people is especially potent right now. And what I like about this card is that it's basically saying wherever intention goes, energy flows, especially with the Knight of Wands coming up next to it. And maybe this is about being more assertive, standing up for yourself, not being indecisive, being like, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, this is what works for me, this doesn't work for me, this is what I'm doing, and like putting your mind to it. In action, Knight of Wands comes up as the confirmation. So it might be time to be brave and have the conversations you've been afraid to have. Maybe it's time to make some major announcement. It is very likely that a lot of this is going to be about standing up and kind of saying, you know what, I'm going after what I want, and I'm not going to make excuses for why things haven't been working or why things haven't been going my way. Accountability is a big theme when I see the Ace of Swords. I always tell people, if you say you're going to do it, actually do it. Don't just say you're going to do it. Come up with a plan and execute. Because what will happen throughout the House of the Swords is we see lots of anxiousness and, there can be communication problems and loss of sleep and conflict and mental strife. I mean, there's not very many positive cards in the House of Swords, to be honest with you. This is probably one of the better ones that you're going to get because at least it starts with an idea. And then we go through the whole kind of mental process of deciding what is and is not working as we go through the other, 9 minors. Anyway, that combo with the Knight of Wands tells me that you're really about telling people where you're going and you're wanting to initiate new ways of communicating, but new ways of thinking. This is like, instead of getting stuck in the past and like worrying about the past or blaming other people, you're like, nope, this is the plan. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm, executing it. This is where I'm going. And it's very much decisive, right? Air and fire is like, I've made up my mind. It's not wishy-washy like earth and water. It is very, once it makes up its mind, that's the direction that it's going in. And so I feel like this is about really sharing your plans, your ideas with other people. There's an accountability aspect to this because when you're telling somebody that you're doing something, likely there's going to be some kind of holding you to it, and expecting you to actually kind of see it through. Anyway, I hope that that's helpful for you. Start writing things down is what I would say. Start writing down your intentions, start writing down your mantras, start speaking things into reality, right? Because words are spells in themselves. All right, so that was for Hannah. We've got Miss Martin, Nancy, and then Rachel. You guys are all next on deck. Yep, that's who we've got. And we'll leave this open for a little bit longer. If you guys want to get a reading, you can scan the QR code. Miss Martin says, Virgo rising, Pisces moon. What are my career next steps? All right, so what are your career next steps? So I have Miss Martin, Nancy, Rachel, David, Maham, and Diana, excuse me. So if you heard your name, you're next. So what are the next steps that Miss Martin's going to be taking at work? It looks like big things are happening for you with that Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so I'm going to show you the bottom card in a second. But Wheel of Fortune, so first of all, this card comes up during the fixed months of the year, right? So when we are in Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, and Taurus, okay? So these are kind of big turning points. We're just now getting ready to leave Scorpio season, so it can be saying sometime between now and February, sometimes between now and May. Wheel of Fortune is one of the better cards, okay? And this is a fun card because it does talk about the universe kind of interfering in all of the best ways. Wheel of Fortune, it spins. You never know which way it's going to go. Is it up? Is it down? What's coming your way? All we know is that the winds of change are blowing. And when the Wheel of Fortune comes up, it's basically saying like serendipitous things are happening where, the universe is rerouting you or reconnecting you to better opportunities, bigger things, right? Better paying jobs, higher wages, happier kind of spaces at work. I would be looking for these little weird, strange coincidences. Being that you're a Virgo rising, Jupiter is in your 10th house of career. So that's supposed to expand your career. The problem is that right now you've got a Mercury retrograde in your 4th, so there's lots of changes at home or emotionally going on. You've got Saturn in your 7th, so it means that there's some relation stuff that's kind of happening or lack of support or needing relationship or wanting to connect with somebody. And Jupiter is responding to all of these things. So before Jupiter can really expand, which you're going to see February, which is Aquarius season, Jupiter goes direct. Okay, so probably you'll start to see the effects of like some kind of growth in your career, but it might come after changes happening on the home front or emotionally with family. It might come after some changes in regards to relationships in March. And then there is this blossoming where you're really going to see some good stuff. February really through June of 2025, I think is going to be some of the better time, which is interesting because this talks about literally November, February, and May. So that's, I think, when you're going to see more things changing. Wheel of Fortune can also talk about like taking chances, taking risks, getting outside of your comfort zone, looking at jobs or places and things that you typically wouldn't and being like, let's see, you'll give it a shot. Let's see if something happens here. And then it ends up being something that's like really fortuitous and really positive for you. So it looks like the universe is rooting for you. Confirmation card is definitely saying that, especially when you're saying, what's next with my career? And you pull the Wheel of Fortune and the Emperor, which means like, there can be some big moves happening where you're being put in a position where you're helping, a manager, you're moving into a superior position, or there is some kind of unexpected change with, management or, with a job. And suddenly you're put into a position where you're like running the show. And so you're almost like waiting for some of these things to happen right now, or you're waiting for some of these changes of events to take place so you can kind of find your moment in the spotlight. The Emperor is about mastering, work, professional stuff, career. It's a masculine energy. It's about also being put in a position of power and control, working with really powerful, dominating kind of like masculine people. So it can mean that, you have a meeting with a boss, or you end up going into an interview with somebody and, somebody who's kind of like this high powered figure, and you end up going back and forth only to kind of like really impress them. Right. And then realize, okay, now I'm being given, some kind of authority at work that I didn't have before. Now somebody is kind of seeing me for my leadership skills, and now you're able to kind of have your big break. Aries energy. So Aries, sun, moon, rising, or people who are older kind of positions of authority, people who are wise, right? So that's very much like the Emperor. Good luck. Let me know what happens, because I know it's going to be good for my Virgo risings. You're just not, none of you guys are quite seeing it quite yet. Right now, I think the retrograde is all hands on deck when it comes to your emotions in your home. But it's definitely coming for you. You'll see it. We've got Nancy, Rachel, and then David. All right, so we have got Nancy. Nancy says, card reading for Nancy. Will I get approved to stay in my current apartment until 2025? All right, so what can we tell Nancy? Is she going to stay in this apartment until next summer? What do the cards have to say about this? Is she going to stay? Great card, Six of Cups, confirmed with the Page of Coins. That's a pretty clear, obvious answer. The Six of Cups is about returning, renewing, re-evaluating, I think an offer. Essentially, you know, I mean, the best way to learn tarot is to learn the images, right? Like you can memorize the meanings, but if you really learn the symbolism of the cards, you can read them. What do you see in this image? You see somebody handing somebody else a cup, you know, there is some sense of kind of nostalgia going on. There's flowers around them. They're joyful, they're cheery, they're youthful. Also, you see a beautiful home in the background. You see flowers that are blooming, the sky that's clear. So usually this is like a reunion card, a reconnection card. You know, if somebody says, is my boyfriend going to come back? You know, and you pull this card, yes. Am I going to get my job back? Yes. You know, are they going to forgive me? Yes. So if you're saying, am I going to get the opportunity to stay? Are they going to offer me to stay here? I would say yes. I do see that is a very clear situation that it is going to be offered to you. I always look at the bottom of the deck as a confirmation card because the bottom of the deck can give me more clarity than just a single one-off card. And another card that I would want to pull in this situation would definitely be the Page of Pentacles, because this is another offering, right? Here, do you want this? Page of Pentacles, it can mean that they're like, okay, we're going to let you stay, you know, but, you know, here is the arrangement or the understanding, or here's the agreement. So they may physically give you a lease that you have to renew. They may say to you, you know, we're going to be charging this much more per month, you know, or this is what we're going to need from you if you're going to stay. There can be some kind of term or condition. It's not negative, but there is some kind of physical exchange. But this is once again another offering card. So pages are always about some like new opportunity or new beginning. They may come to you and offer you something you don't see coming. They could say, well, you know, we're open to having you stay for another 6 months, but if you want to actually stay for a year, we'd be willing to give you a break in your rent, or we'd be willing to give you a deal. Like there may be something that they're going to offer you that you don't see coming. So you may be going into it being like, oh man, you know, I just want to be able to know that I can be here for 6 months, when in reality, they may be offering you something more that you didn't see coming. Okay, so that might be something that you want to kind of think about. But it does look like, whether it's a roommate situation or it's a renewing of your lease, whatever it is, it does look to me like they want you to be there. They would like you to be there. So don't be afraid of, oh my God, what if I don't have a place to go? I would be like, okay, well, I'm wanted here, first of all, so that's great. You're doing something right. You're either taking good care of your unit, or you pay your rent on time, or you're friendly to your neighbors, or, you know, you get along with your roommate, whatever. They're going to want you to be there. So don't worry about not having a place to stay. I don't really see that being an issue. And I'm curious to see what it is that's being offered to you in some way, shape, or form. You know, if it's a situation where somebody is debating whether or not they're moving out, and, you know, you're sharing a space or you're on the lease, they might say, well, do you want to take it over? And you find somebody else to live here. Okay, there could be something like that that's going to kind of come up, but I don't see you having to leave. So good luck with that. Sleep tight and well, knowing that no rug is being pulled. Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate it. Come back and let me know what that other offering is. I'm curious. We've got Rachel. What's up, Rachel? How's it going? Rachel says, I would love a read on my relationship with Pajama Guy. We broke up at the end of September. Now we're back together. So are we done fucking around? Hoping we are ready to stabilize. Saturn is direct in my 7th house, so maybe it's finally time. Almost our 5-year anniversary of this situation. Crazy, crazy, crazy. You're a Virgo rising. Saturn's direct in your 7th. You're like, is it over? And honestly, Rachel, you're not even going to believe some of the stuff that's going to happen. This Mercury retrograde, girl, it's retrograde in your 4th. It's squaring Saturn. It's opposing Jupiter. There's a lot of changes and things kind of happening. Simultaneously, you still have eclipses for 2 years with the North Node in your 7th house, which means there are still situations developing revolving around relationship. North Node is kind of hazy. We don't know what's coming. You're going to have a Venus retrograde, a Mercury retrograde there. So I want you to take your calendar out for 2025 that you bought off of my website. And then you want to take a big red Sharpie, and I want you to circle the entire month of March, because that is going to be the time where there is a big decision made about Pajama Guy. Okay? All right, so that's that. But let's see what the cards have to say, because there's a lot of moving parts that are going to be happening next year that's going to make a big decision, help you make a big decision about who stays and who goes. And the beauty of, I think, the Virgo rising chart with these retrogrades is that the retrogrades go from Aries, which is in your 8th house of self-change, into the 7th house of Pisces, where other people don't know what the fuck they're doing. So if they're not clear, you're going to realize very quickly, oh, this is not safe, or I'm holding space for somebody who doesn't have a sense of direction, and the retrograde could bring another person in. You feel me? All right. This is the card that I have for you. 8 of Coins, which, not a bad card. Okay, this is like saying like getting work done, really putting in an effort, focusing on quality, right? Really kind of refining some of the things about the relationship. This is hard work, dedication, perfection, doing the same thing over and over and over again. Not in a bad way, but just like learning how to kind of get things straight. From what I remember, he also had a lot of Aries and a lot of Libra in his chart, and I think it was the earlier degrees. So like the eclipses are still going through there. We're also going to see retrogrades through there. Saturn and Neptune are going to go into Aries. So it's going to be like, yeah, even in his own astrology, like it's funny to me that Saturn is going into your 7th house fully, like it's going to be there still throughout this next year, and then Saturn's going into the sign where he's got a bunch of Aries. It's literally about growing up, by the way. So it can mean like, is he learning to do the work? You know, I think the 8 of Coins is a positive card when somebody says to me like, we've been back and forth for a while, like, you know, am I wasting my time? Like, is there something worth fighting for or working on? And this card would say yes, right? Confirmation card is the Queen of Coins. So you're like the taskmaster, you know. She's the one saying, this is the shit you have to do. This is what you have to work on. This is how you have to better yourself. This is what I need, you know, and he's like slaving away, like trying to prove and like show to her that, you know, he's worthy of her time, right? And that's just literally what the cards are saying. So like there is this sense of the Queen of Coins being like, I have a new set of expectations and standards. You can meet them, and if you don't meet them, that's fine. I can still provide for myself, but like I'm not going to hang around and keep telling you what to do or how to do it. So there is a sense, I think, of like you realizing what you need, and I don't think you're going to be as tolerant of things anymore. You know, 3.5 years usually in relationships is like where shit gets real, because that's like the first quarter square, this first quarter Saturn square. And then you have 7 years, which is like, that's why they hear the 7-year itch, right? So, you know, usually 3.5, 7, 14, 21. These are big turning points. So you've already made it through that. Usually right around the time you're getting to your 5-year mark, now you're getting into like Saturn sextiles, you're getting into some trines. So it can mean that, you know, things can actually grow. But I mean, just knowing your astrology, I would basically be like, March is really going to be like the Thunderdome for him. And he either can get with the program or he can't. And like, I feel for all of my Virgo risings right now, because I feel like everybody who I've spoken to who's like either in committed, like married relationships or ongoing years of situationships, like all of you guys are dealing with like these Peter Pan partnerships. And it doesn't matter if they're men or women. None of them seem to know what they're doing. So Saturn, I think, and Neptune going into Aries, which will still be in your 7th house next year, but in a different sign, is going to like be real. Like that's going to be the time that's like he's either going to get with it or he's not. But to me, you seem pretty secure in the fact that you're like, okay, he must be showing you enough kind of progress that you don't feel like you're wasting your time right now, right? That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting anyway. So I hope that that's helpful for you. And obviously, you know, the Virgo and the Taurus in your chart is going to like love that Queen of Coins coming through because you're like, well, at least I'm not wasting my time. She says he seems to be stepping it up. I want to hear that he got you something nicer than pajamas for Christmas, Rachel. That's what I would like to hear. But I think every year, I don't think I've heard what he's gotten in recent years. So we'll have to do like a follow up and see like how that goes. All right, we've got David, and then we've got Maham and Diana and Ashley. So I have all of you guys. You're in the queue. We also had Kelly and Stephanie get in there. So if you heard your name, I've got you. She said, better year. He got me a battery last year for my heated coat. Okay, he gets your weird shit. Sounds like Aries things. All right, well, this is for David. All right, so if you guys are just tuning in, you want to get a reading, scan the QR code. We're going to leave the queue open for a little bit longer if you guys want to get a reading. David, what's up, David? David says, hey, Candace, what's up? It's Dave. I would appreciate a card pull on whether it's worth putting money into my place, flooring, and various other projects to update, or whether I just hold off on spending a lot. Concerned I'll sink money and won't realize a return on investments. Thanks. Thanks, David. David, what's your sun and rising sign? I'm curious. All right, so let's see. So should David put some money into his place? He's thinking about maybe put some money in some floors and some other things, but he only wants to do it if he feels like it's going to be a good investment and if it's going to pay off in the overall value of his space. So he's a Leo rising, Gemini sun. So it makes sense to me, David, that you're thinking about this. Ooh, Taurus moon. So you're not cheap, right? You're not cheap. You have Taurus moon. You have nice quality preferences. It makes sense with Mars getting ready to go retrograde. So Mars right now is in, obviously it's in Leo. So it's going through, you know, your first house. So you're like, do I want to take action? Do I want to spend some money? Mars rules your fourth house of home. So it's like, well, do I feel like doing it? What's interesting is you get the Queen of Cups. All right. So I'm wondering, is this partner, girlfriend, roommate, mom? Is there anybody who's given you any advice at all? You know, the Queen of Cups can really talk about like feeling like emotionally like I need to do this work. And I would also say being a Leo rising, you know, knowing that Mars is going through the part of your chart that's about your emotions, you know, it's not a bad idea to have a project to kind of work on for a little bit extensively and like burn off some steam and like feel good about what you're doing. Like I know that you're coming at it from the financial perspective of like money. That's your moon. The retrograde is 4 signs away from your moon. So that's why you're going back and forth revolving around, well, if I do the work, what's it going to cost me? Is it going to pay off? And also, am I going to be the one doing the work? Okay. Queen of Cups tells me that you'll feel good emotionally making these changes in your space. So if you don't have a woman that's kind of giving you this feedback or somebody who's like telling you, like, you're going to get the work done and you're going to be like, I feel more comfortable here. I enjoy it more here, right? It's going to be more calming here. Like, I think that's kind of like the overall kind of output. It's not giving you a lot in regards to money, but your confirmation card is the Page of Pentacles. So it is saying that there is a way for you to go about doing this where you're making the updates that are going to look more so aesthetically pleasing and possibly even more comfortable, but you don't have to break the bank. So it's like, okay, rather than going and like renovating stuff, do you decide that you're going to paint some walls and change something about the dimensions of some of the space? Do you decide to do laminate flooring instead of like real wood, right? Like, you know, these things. Like it's basically saying you're going to be super cost efficient in some of the changes that you're going to make, that you can really update that space and make it look better without having to break the bank. And I feel like not only will you feel more comfortable and better in this space, but if you do ultimately end up deciding down the road to rent the space, sell the space, you know, try to take photos of it and market it, like it is going to look more aesthetically pleasing. It is going to look nicer. You know, you'd be surprised what you can do, go in refinishing cabinets or painting cabinets and like changing the hardware. And that's something you could do on your own, right? So like that Queen of Cups coming up with the Page of Pentacles is like, okay, if like emotionally, I feel like I need a good project or I need to work on something for a weekend and put my time and energy into it, you might feel actually better doing some of those things. I think that could actually be a really great thing with Mars going retrograde into Cancer in your 12th house. It could be something also that's connected to lighting, things that are connected to your bedroom. A lot of people are going to be making renovations and changes to their homes with Mars in Cancer. And I would just say we have an extended period, basically from, December all the way through about, March going into April, where if you have some do-it-yourself home projects or anything like that, like it's a really good time to take your time to do this stuff. And I think that you can do it in a cost-efficient way. Maybe do a little bit at a time. And if there's something that you're like, man, flooring is beyond me, yes, have somebody else do it. But I don't see a loss. I feel like you're going to be feeling very emotionally pleased with the investment that you made. And I would be starting small and kind of doing little projects that you can kind of handle or things that you feel more comfortable doing. I do not see this being a loss. I do not. I think that it's going to be well worth it and at least help you find the space a little bit more kind of cozy or comfortable or charming while you're continuing to kind of stay there. Right? So hopefully that's helpful for you. Would love to do that around that time. We'll be updating your home office. I love that. Private spaces is the Mars retrograde in your 12th. Really consider making changes with lighting. Okay, 12th house is lighting. It's also your bedroom. It can be also about things revolving around the attic, stuff that is hidden in closets and kind of cleaning stuff out. So you'll probably do some of that as well. All right, so we've got Maham, and the question was, what opportunities or changes are on the horizon for my career? How can I best position myself to take advantage of them? Born 2/26/97, 4:23 p.m. All right, so all I know is that you're right on that cusp of being a Pisces. Saturn's left your sun sign based off of that. So let's see what I can tell you in terms of what's on the horizon for changes in your career. What do you need to be doing to really take advantage of this moment? Good question for Pisces right now too, especially with the retrograde being in Sag. A lot of you guys are super focused on what's going on with your career. I've got Judgment, the Five of Wands, and the King of Wands. Great cards. I mean, I think of like the Judgment card as being like now or never, Some people feel like the Judgment card is like, everything that's happening is a result of your hard work or your past actions, and now it's all coming up for reevaluation or review. Like the Judgment card can sometimes be a card that is about reviews. Coming into a position at work at the end of the year where people are getting bonuses, or they're doing kind of annual reviews, or they're talking to you and giving you feedback. That can be a theme that's coming up that's kind of saying like that's going to be like a turning point. Judgment is also very much about like making a decision and sticking with it. And then, because you stayed the path and you were committed to your job, your career, your goals, like now you're starting to kind of see the full effects of that. And that could be good or bad. Although I don't see this being bad, I see it being positive. Gabriel kind of coming in on the Judgment card does talk about announcements. So it can mean that there are some big life-changing announcements that are kind of coming in regards to your career, your job, where you're working. 10 of Wands in the current position makes me feel like you're exhausted, like you're tired. The 10s are always about some major kind of completion or some kind of something kind of coming to an end. Obviously, the one thing that I always tell my clients when I see the 10 of Wands coming up is like, you're right there. You're at the end. You're at the finish line. You're right about to kind of like break through. Like now is not the time to slow down or drop the ball or give up. This can also be coming up for you. I mean, I think of like Pisces, like Sag season, right? Like right now the sun is in your 10th house to your sun. Mercury's going retrograde there. There can be this sense of reevaluating, like, is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this right for me? Do I make a job change? Do I, go to a different department? Should I be looking for something else? Like the 10 of Wands is saying, don't lose focus. Don't lose sight of where you're going. Stay committed, stay the path. Even though you're exhausted, it looks like you're about to have a breakthrough, right? King of Wands coming up. Which obviously it's a masculine energy, but this is also, about fire. So it can be about Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius's. This can be about kind of coming into your own personal power. This can be about asserting yourself more, being more creative, more direct, having your kind of time in the sun. This can be about connection and collaboration with other people as well. Okay, so you're Leo rising. So, you know, obviously you just had a full moon in your 10th house. You are also going to be seeing that, you know, all of the transits that are kind of happening for the next couple of months is the back and forth between your first and your 7th house. It's how you relate to other people. I don't really see there being any challenges for your career stuff. Actually, in fact, I feel like for like a Leo rising, you know, Venus going through Capricorn is really good for the next couple of weeks when it comes to your daily routine, your habits, your workspace, and then it's going to go into your 7th house. I feel like the King of Wands is about feeling more confident in what you're doing, like feeling like you're kind of really in the swing of it, or you're feeling like you can be more creative or you can be more authentic. It can be a time also where you're kind of taking some kind of bold moves and actions and you're trying to launch things, you're having meetings, you're proposing things to people. It's very like get up and go energy. Like the King of Wands is somebody who is just going to kind of keep coming up with ideas and concepts and putting stuff out there until something sticks, because they love moving and shaking and collaborating with other people. I feel like, you know, what's probably happening here is it's saying you're coming to this like turning point where you're like, okay, I'm giving it till the end of the year or the beginning of the year to kind of see how some of this stuff plays out. Am I getting the recognition that I want? Do I feel like, you know, I am getting the traction that I want? If not, what else can I make happen? Where else can I go? What else can I be working on? You know, who else can I connect with? Sometimes this is about connecting with like a very bold, creative, you know, kind of spicy, fiery, feisty person who's like, hey, you know what, you're bored or you're tired of doing that, come and work for me. But it would be a challenge. It's saying getting into a situation or a position where it's going to be challenging. It's not going to be easy. But I think it's going to be a chance that's worth taking. I would just say let this year kind of finish out, get to the end of the year, let things kind of restart. And I know that so much of what's happening also, being a Leo rising, that this retrograde's in your 5th house. So it's like asking you to kind of feel a little bit more open creatively. Maybe it's about taking time away from work, focusing more on creativity and having fun, or even dating. But whatever comes up for you, like over this next month, I think it's really going to be about like feeling more kind of tapped into your creativity. So even the King of Wands could be saying you're doing more of that before you ultimately kind of segue and go in another direction in the new year, and you're more focused on kind of work in your career. Anyway, I hope that that is helpful for you. All right, so we have got Diana and then Ashley. You're welcome. Is Diana here? I don't see your question, but I see Diana N sent in for a 3-card reading. So if you want to send your question in the chat, please do. And I'll take Ashley while I'm waiting for you, Diana. Ashley says, what does the universe want me to know about my current partner? Ooh, spicy. I love those loaded questions. All right, so this is for you, Ashley. I'm just waiting on Diana. So what does the universe want me to know about my partner? All right, Ashley, well, you asked for it. Let's see. What does the tarot say? What do you need to know about your current partner? All right, so in this order, we have got the King of Swords, we have got the Fool, and the Queen of Wands. I like these cards, actually. Kind of like these cards. So we've got the King of Swords, okay? So this can be talking about somebody who is bold, they're intelligent, they communicate, they're direct, they're fierce, they're in their kind of masculine energy, they're assertive, but I like that they're intelligent, that they're not afraid to kind of speak their mind, say what they're thinking, be direct, and also like they mean what they say and they say what they mean. Okay, so communication is definitely like a huge theme here. And it's somebody who is also like very, very comfortable, very confident, very sure of themselves, not in an egotistical way, but somebody who isn't afraid to kind of be themselves. We've got the Fool card in the right now. Okay, so I'm kind of wondering if there's something changing actually going on with the relationship. And it can mean that there's like this sense of this person breaking out of their shell, getting out of their comfort zone. Maybe it means you're kind of hitting a point in the relationship where it's like, you're like, okay, maybe I'm finally feeling like I'm starting to get through to them, or like maybe they're kind of opening up a little bit more, or, you know, we're turning a corner when it comes to, you know, some of the challenges we've been having. The Fool card is about, you know, being free, liberated, somebody who is open. They are optimistic. They believe that anything is possible. It can be about new beginnings. It can be about taking a chance. It can be about a leap of faith. And so I kind of look at this and I'm like, interesting that this is more kind of structured, rigid, routine, a little bit more cautious. Maybe it can be a little guarded. And then we've got the Fool card coming up. So it's saying maybe there is like a shift happening. You know, there's a shift maybe happening revolving around the way that you guys communicate and the way that you guys connect. And maybe he is opening up more and he's like learning to be a little bit more carefree and like not so obsessive or fixated on how he comes across or how he says something or what other people think of him. And then we have the Queen of Wands coming up, and this could be you. So we've got literally, you know, a man and a woman. Queen of Wands is sexy, bold, creative, confident, somebody who is also not afraid to kind of be themselves, but in a very different way. This is somebody who's more about chemistry, connection, physical kind of connection, having fun, like being in the moment. And so I kind of feel like it's saying that the impact, right, that you have on each other, where he can be coming from things in a very structured, logical, kind of sometimes detached, kind of conservative manner. And then there's you that is a little bit more creative, fun, free-going, intuitive, open, warm, right? Like there is a really interesting complementary energy between the two of you, very complementary. And it's giving you guys the opportunity to like actually see sides of yourselves that you've never seen. And that could be personally or in relationship. This could also mean that you are now embarking on a new phase in the relationship and the connection together, where like you have the ability to kind of really open him up and lead him and bring him in a direction where like the two of you guys can actually grow and evolve and like learn to free yourselves of old outdated ways of being in relationship or being or feeling afraid, right, of being yourselves and kind of being authentic. I think that it's very complementary, even though the energies are incredibly different. Anyway, I hope that is helpful for you and giving you some insight here. I definitely am curious with what's going on between the two of you, because it does seem like it is something where you can really open him up in a very positive way. Just your presence alone and your willingness maybe to kind of pull him out of his comfort zone can actually be very enriching for him. All right, so who else do we have? We've got, okay, so Choose Love came back through. So this is for you, Diana. And we also have Kelly and we have Stephanie. Did anybody else kind of pop in here? And then Cindy. All right, so we're going to go ahead and call last call. So if you guys want to get a reading, you're going to want to get in. We're going to call last call now. So make sure you scan the QR code and get in the queue. All right, so this is for Ashley. Not Ashley, excuse me. This is for Diana. And then we'll have Kelly and Stephanie next. All right, so this is for you, Diana. She says, what's in store for me and my divine this new year in union? Gotcha. All right, so what's going on with you and your partner in union? What do we need to know about this next year? 4 cards on that. All right. Very interesting cards that just came up here. So we've got the Fool, we've got the Ace of Pentacles, and we have got the Devil card. Well, what can I say? You've got 2 major cards kind of coming up here. It's really interesting because I kind of feel like the way that you're approaching the new year is like when the new year comes, it's out with the old and in with the new. Like you really mean that this year. You know, the Fool card talks about like new opportunities and beginnings and like kind of springing forward and being like, this is the direction that we're going in. We have no fear. There's no regrets. There's nothing holding us back. This is about traveling. This is about experiencing things. This is about taking chances. The Ace of Pentacles is also when it comes to what you're building together. That could be, are we saving money together? Are we, investing money together? Are we spending money on travel? Are we going places and investing in developing this relationship? And it's about having experiences. It looks like that's really important to you. It can also mean that you guys are talking about taking chances and investing your time and your energy into other things. You might be talking about, building a home, or talking about, what it is that you're hoping to kind of achieve physically together. Ace of Pentacles is a very positive card. Okay, this is a card that's just like, there is something here that is worth focusing on growing and developing. Like, there is an opportunity and an ability for 1 year from now, you guys to be in a completely different place, because this is the 1 year card. I don't know why timing comes up. I don't know why I get this feeling that you're like, okay, in the new year, things are going to be different. Or, I have a goal, or I'm giving this 1 year. Like, there's something around like timing here that seems to be really important for you, because it's come up several times. What's interesting is that the Devil card, it is a heavy card. That is a card that's like, are we going to fall back into old patterns? Are we going to, continue to kind of repeat some of these same issues where maybe there's been some limitations in our relationship, where we've been holding back, where we've made mistakes, where there's been jealousy or, obsessiveness, or the unwillingness to forgive or like let things go, like so much about the Fool card and the Ace of Pentacles is like, let's forget the past, let's focus on the future. And like, we need to do this right now. We need to be focused on what we're growing. And then the Devil card comes in and it's like, yeah, but stir the pot and like bring up what happened like, 3 years ago, or like whatever, like there is like this sense of, that's what's holding you back. That's what's hindering from you guys being able to move forward, is the temptation to move back into old patterns and limitations. And also like the Devil card does talk about temptation. So it can mean like, has there been issues where you guys have been tempted to fall back into your old ways? And it's not always like, adultery. I mean, sure, it can be, but sometimes it can be about, putting yourself in a position of, not being honest with yourself, and therefore not being honest with your partner. And that's limiting the relationship, right? So I would be curious, like where Saturn is in your guys' chart. Like that might be something you want to look at, because obviously the Devil has connections to Saturn, also has connections to Capricorn. I do feel like the way that you want to proceed forward in this next year is to be like, okay, we've got a plan, like this is where we want to be in a year. Or these are the places I want to travel this year. Or this is the goals that I want to accomplish together this year. How much money I want to save with you this year. Don't focus on the past. That's what's going to create some issues. You can get stuck there. You really want to focus on where you're moving forward, and also, really practicing patience and like forgiveness, and not allowing yourself to kind of hold each other down. You want to be boosting each other up. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Hopefully you do spend some time growing together and traveling and having some of those experiences, because it looks like that's something that's really, really important to you. All right, well, we did call last call, so if you got in there, then I got you. So if you hear your name, that means I have you before we wrap it up for the night. So I've got Kelly, Stephanie, Briana, Cindy, and Camille. You guys are all in. So that brings me to Kelly. You're really welcome. Kelly says, hi, Candace. What is this Pluto transit bringing me? It's conjunct my Saturn and Moon in Aquarius, 1 and 6 degree. What should I know to prepare? Thank you. So it's conjunct your Saturn and your Moon between 1 and 6 degrees. What's your rising sign, Kelly? That means for the immediate next year, okay, because Pluto will be between 0 and 3 degrees. Pluto will be transiting your Saturn. Okay, so you're a Capricorn rising. That's a big deal because Capricorn rules your chart, by the way. So If you're a Capricorn rising, then you've got Moon and you've got Saturn in your second house of money, personal possessions, resources, self-esteem, and it's conjunct the Moon. So I'm going to give you the positive before I give you the negative. You ready? You are Saturn, the Moon is your relationships. So when you have the Moon and Saturn in conjunction, it means that you hold on to relationships, you hold on to people. Things that are connected to people, you invest lots of time and energy in people. It could be friends, could be relationships. So when you have an outer planet transit your chart ruler, it impacts your first house of the body, okay? And you personally, your appearance. And it's going to come into conjunction with the Moon, which means it's going to impact your relationships with other people, right? So Pluto, on the other hand, because you're Capricorn rising, is connected to your friendships, 11th house ruler, your goals, right? So it means there's a radical change and transformation of what you value in friendships, what your personal style looks like, how you're making money. And anybody who's got Moon Saturn, they've got mom karma, issues with women, older female friends, challenges revolving around home, sharing of your emotions. And it looks like Pluto's going to come through like a bulldozer and it's going to say, well, we're going to change all of that. It can be karmically too, okay? So there can be money changes, personal self-esteem changes, relationship changes, changes in what you value in relationships. And that's going to be the next couple of years. I remember when Pluto transited my Saturn, and I have Saturn in a Saturn-based sign, and at the time it was horrible, but in retrospect, it was actually really good for me because it totally, I feel like, brought up all of like the karmic stuff of the house that Saturn was in that I needed to be aware of. Just some food for thought. So with that being said, go and learn about transit Pluto conjunct your Moon. Be mindful there's definitely some really heavy home, housing, family things that come up with that transit. Let's see what the cards have to say. And obviously as a Leo, my God, I mean, that's going to be very relationship oriented. So relationships and money is like a huge theme. Knight of Wands, Hierophant, and the Knight of Swords. So to me, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of action. So Knight of Wands can be talking about like some kind of action you're taking revolving around some of your long-term beliefs and values. This is the card for Taurus, by the way. So it's very much connected to your second house. So, Pluto might be saying like, you're having to make some radical changes in how you're spending money, how you're using money, what you're buying, what you're possessing, the actions that you're taking when it comes to your resources. Knight of Wands is usually risk-taking too, by the way. So there can be this sense of being like, well, am I willing to take risks in relationships or with money? Am I willing to invest in stuff? Am I investing in my talents? Like that kind of stuff can be coming up. And it can be about your relationship that you have to like a fire sign. So it can be an Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius that's kind of coming into the mix in regards to this. Hierophant talks about like long-term goals, your place in society, tradition. This is a card that's also like about marriage. So what's interesting is that certainly Pluto coming in and making those contacts can be saying, well, a lot is going to be changing in regards to your values and like what you believe in, how you treat yourself, how you value yourself, and it will have an effect on your relationships to other people. So it can be impacting the way that you look at commitment, marriage, long-term goals, and like what you need to be doing in terms of your relationship with yourself in order to kind of strengthen the bonds with other people, or really flushing out and developing, some of your personal goals or some of your, financial strength before you get into relationship with other people. Usually Moon, Saturn in the second house, there's going to be some sense of being like, well, I really value the idea of buying a home or having land and doing that with another person. Right? Because Moon's connected to your seventh, and that, that might be something that you talk about in relationship to other people. That might be a goal that you have, to have independence through the form of having your own space or having your own home or making enough money to have a down payment before you were to get into a relationship with another person. Or maybe that's the means of kind of growing in relationship with another. Then you have the Knight of Swords coming up. So this is more of an air element. So this is more kind of Gemini, Libra, Aquarius energy. I think that this is telling me that you're taking actions and you're kind of like getting everything in order to feel more solid and kind of stable, perhaps with your finances or for some of your long-term kind of financial goals. And the Knight of Swords is kind of coming up saying that this is about you, talking about that, sharing that information, discussing that with other people. Maybe it means that there's information that kind of comes in, throughout this transit. That means that you have to move, relocate, travel. That can happen, by the way. Aquarius is like sudden, and when you have transits involving Pluto and your moon, it can mean that suddenly, you're, moving from one place to another, or there's some kind of family crisis, obviously touch wood, but these things can kind of come up. So it might mean that you're kind of feeling the pressure of like needing to communicate with other people and express your emotions in a different way. I feel like a Pluto moon transit, whether it's Pluto square the moon, Pluto conjunct the moon, whatever, these are really good for like therapy and like learning more about psychology. And also, Aquarius can be like astrology and psychology. Maybe you're investing more in that. It's very possible. The moon does rule your 7th house. You might see that, okay, if there is stuff that comes up or you're having self-esteem issues, crisis, stuff that's going on, you see the value in actually investing in a 7th house relationship, which could be a counselor, it could be a coach, it could be a therapist, it could be an astrologer. I mean, literally your astrologer, your tarot reader, that's your 7th house. Somebody who is counseling you and kind of working with you to kind of help kind of get you on the path of feeling a little bit more solid and steady when it comes to making some of these bigger kind of life decisions that you're going to be having in the future. Okay. Obviously, your Saturn is at a 1 is what it sounds like. So it's very personal. So it's very much about like, what do I believe in? What am I doing? And then when it conjuncts your moon, it's going to be more relating to other people. So I feel like this is about you getting your kind of your stuff in order first, especially in terms of your personal goals before moving on and then like further kind of flushing out and developing relationships with other people, which may also involve changes to finances, right? Anyway, I hope that was helpful for you. Thank you, CZ. I got you. So you're level 3 person, so I'll take you real quick. CZ says, hey Candace, my question is, what is the new moon bringing me in love? I'm so torn. What steps should I be taking or not taking in order to act according to my higher self? So you have got Scorpio rising and, your rising is in Sagittarius. So the new moon that you're having is in your 1st house, and your moon's in Scorpio in the 12th, and your Pisces sun in the 4th. Whole sign, of course. I don't know if those are the exact houses, but new moon in your 1st house, I feel like, obviously you're always going to hear like new moon, new you, right? But this is a new moon. If you watch my new moon video, I talk about how the new moon is square Saturn. Okay, so it's square your 4th house sun, which means that you're developing new kind of themes and goals and intentions for yourself, and it's being based more off of your emotions, your home, and your family. And as Mercury is retrograding through your 1st house, squaring that, it's also opposing Jupiter. So there's a lot of like figuring out, who am I, outside of my relationship to other people, outside of my home and my family, like what changes am I making? And I've told everybody, like, you want to set an intention list around the new moon, but like you want to do it in pencil so you can go back and update it, make tweaks and changes as Mercury goes back and forth over that degree over this next month, which means you're going to have a whole new set of lists of intentions and goals and things that you're kind of working out that will feel more so, I think, fleshed out by the end of December. But let's ask the cards what we need to know, what is it bringing you in terms of love? I mean, part of me feels inclined to say probably most likely self-love. Although Venus at the time of the new moon, it is in Capricorn, so it is in your money house. Be more investing in yourself. Let's take a look. In this order, you have Judgment, Wheel of Fortune, 3 of Wands. So where are you going? I mean, these cards, obviously, you got 2 majors here. There's nothing that's coming up that's saying like hearts, butterflies, rainbows, relationships. That's not really what's being shown. Judgment and the Wheel of Fortune are good cards, though, because it's saying really whatever good fortune that comes your way from this new moon is as a decision or a realization of like how things need to be. And things are flexible right now. They're kind of fluid with like retrogrades coming and also, this new moon that's going to evolve over like the next like month or so. I feel like the Judgment card is about getting very clear about what is and isn't working, like what decisions you are making outside of relationship to other people. And then letting the universe kind of do the work, right? The Judgment card is like making this announcement, making this commitment. It could be to yourself. That's kind of how I see it for Sagittarius rising.
And then the Wheel of Fortune is basically saying, once you have set that intention in motion, once you've written it down, you've said it out loud, you've told other people about it, you've, manifested it, maybe you put it somewhere special, and you remind yourself throughout the month, and probably even the next 6 months, this is what's coming, this is what's going to happen, this is what I need, this is what's best for me, this is my path. Then the Wheel of Fortune can then allow the magic to kind of happen. Mercury rules your 7th, by the way. So, you're literally calling in relationships. So I would sit down and write a letter to a future partner. I would sit down and set intentions revolving around the relationship that you have with yourself. I would focus on trying to become, the best version of yourself, but also embodying some of the qualities and the traits that you want in another person. Because that's what Mercury is. It's about tapping into, well, what is it that I'm seeking? Okay, well, I'm going to try to become that, and then it will find me. That's kind of like how this energy works for you. The Wheel of Fortune is also saying that, serendipitous things are happening. People can kind of be popping in. It is very possible for you to be able to kind of connect with somebody, and it can be very significant. I would watch for what's kind of going on with this up and coming full moon in Gemini. You will have a full moon in your 7th house, which could definitely be something positive. I see the 3 of Wands coming up, which is also kind of saying like it's also likely that there is going to be some traveling, going somewhere, getting outside of your comfort zone, seeing what else is out there, trying to meet people in other places, keeping an open mind. 3 of Wands is not just kind of like, do I want to go or not? It's like, no, I'm going to go and go on an adventure and see what kind of pops in, which Sag risings are generally pretty good at doing. I feel like this is also saying like, you're not really making it be about trying to find someone. You're making it be about kind of, bettering yourself or going out and, exploring new spaces and places and then letting like love find you, which you may find, by the way, around the time of the Cazimi, because, Mercury, it's going to go retrograde. It's going to conjunct the sun. Okay. So when it goes retrograde and it conjuncts the sun, that literally means you may meet somebody while you're traveling, right? Or while somebody else is traveling, because the sun rules your 9th. So get out there or be in unfamiliar places or connect with people in other places. Like allow there to be the space and the time for the universe to intervene, or be open to making changes to your schedule or your plans. So that way there can be opportunities for you to kind of connect with somebody unexpectedly. Okay. Relationship stuff will come when Jupiter and Saturn are no longer in a square. So that's going to be after December. And some of the best stuff is actually going to be coming for you guys about March through June of 2025. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you. What's up, Cindy? I didn't forget about you. Don't worry. I've got Stephanie, Briana, and then you are my last reading. So you are still on my list. Hopefully that's helpful for you, CZ. Thanks for being a member. I've got Stephanie. What's up, Stephanie? Stephanie says, hey, Candace. Thank you. I'm a Cancer Sun, Pisces Moon, and Rising. That's a lot of water, girl. What should I focus on? What should I focus on next to move my life forward? Great question. If there's 2 signs that I think that are going to benefit the most from this Mars retrograde, it would be Pisces rising and Cancer sun. And you happen to be both of those things. Just some food for thought. You got Mars going retrograde as a Pisces rising in your 5th house, which is going to be giving you an extra extended period of time for romance, creativity, having fun, having more playtime, being able to express yourself, to date, to fall in love, that kind of stuff. And it's going to go over your moon, which is going to really be encouraging you to emotionally kind of connect with someone or something you love. And then you're also going to be having the retrograde that will be in your sun sign. So that's going to be very much kind of connected to maybe changes in the direction with your career, right? And it'll be trining Saturn and Neptune in your 1st house. Like, what? I mean, I think that you have some opportunity to have some sexy time and have some fun. But let's see. So what should you focus on to move your life forward? That one. You've got the 9 of Wands, 10 of Cups, Temperance card. I mean, kind of interesting that, I mean, I think that we wouldn't have a retrograde in the area of our chart unless it's something that we really need to go back and like kind of work on and work through, right? So to some extent, you know, Mars has already gone through Cancer for like the last like several months. So there's already some awareness that's like, yeah, I'd like to have more fifth house stuff, fun, playtime, creativity, you know, dating, whatever. And I think like the 9 of Wands coming up in the current position is saying like, you're burnt out, you're exhausted, you're spent, you're kind of at your tipping point where you're like, I just don't know how much of this I want to do. It might mean that you're kind of feeling burnt out. You know, I think a lot of Pisces and Pisces risings are feeling that. I think with Saturn and Neptune in your first house, and, you know, you have your good days and your bad days where sometimes you're like, man, I'm the only one out here, and other days where you're feeling a little bit more inspired. But generally, it can feel kind of isolating, kind of lonely. And so I see that kind of coming through this card too. That's just like, you know, tired of having to deal with stuff by yourself, or feeling like it's just kind of Groundhog's Day, or that you're the last man standing when it comes to handling situations, and that you're not getting a lot of support. That's obviously where you've been. That's the past. That's not where you're going. Where you're going is the 10 of Cups, which, I mean, is very fifth house energy. That's having fun, but this is like the happily ever after card. This is the card that's like joy, celebration, coming together. It's being in partnership, being in unity, being with family, being with friends, like celebrating, like being able to have something that feels complete. This is, like I said, the happy ever after card. And so ironically, the transits that are kind of going on in your astrology is saying like, well, it's more about kind of figuring out how can I make more time for playtime, happiness, romance, and joy. And if your sun is in that house, obviously that's important as well. It might also be about self-employment, creativity, self-expression, right? And this can be a card that's like about finding like your better half or your other half or some significant connection, somebody who brings something into your life that's not just about work or, you know, making money or, you know, anything revolving around like these topics. It can be other things, stuff that's more emotionally enriching and kind of like fulfilling for you here as well. I do think that with the Temperance card coming up, it's also saying like this is a period of like recalibrating and balancing things out where, you know, obviously for many Pisces risings, you know, Jupiter being in your 4th house, kind of being pulled in 2 directions in terms of your home or your emotions or your living situation. You know, you have this retrograde going on in your 10th, changes with your career. They're all like playing off of each other where to some extent, I think the squares to Saturn and Neptune makes you feel like I'm not totally satisfied with work. I'm not totally satisfied with my home life. So what the hell am I supposed to do? And I would say, even though this sounds like very unprofessional advice, I would be like, you're probably not going to feel very fulfilled in those 2 areas of your life until the new year anyway. So you might as well have some fun and lean into, you know, Mars going through your 5th house, you know, lean into that. Like, go out on dates, meet people, like have some hobbies, like start painting, learn how to play an instrument, like do things that don't make sense. I'm going to give you the okay to do that right now. You're a Pisces rising. Do things that are going to be more about inspiration and romance and having fun. Get out there and do those things because you need that balance. You need that recalibration. You need a little bit of love. And if you can get that, you know, then the Temperance card is saying like, you know, the situation can settle itself out. You'll have more support. Maybe you're going to be feeling better emotionally. Maybe you're also going to be feeling like there's some healing that kind of goes on there as well. The Temperance card also talks about like timing, and that timing is everything, and like being in the right place at the right time. And like, I would say this to any Pisces rising right now. I would be like, you're not going to find fulfillment at home or at work, you know? So knowing that going into it and just being like, okay, I'm going to go and romanticize my life. And if I don't have anybody to be romantic with, then I'm going to start dressing up, going out, you know, like finding ways to be able to feel inspired again until like I have a connection with someone and, you know, and allow myself to really be present with that for a couple of months. I think you're going to realize that you don't have to do life alone. And that's really what this is about, which is kind of the irony of like Saturn and Neptune in your 1st house and the South Node going into your 7th. You may feel that way, but that can be a time where there's a really significant soulmate that comes into your life, you know, with eclipses in your 7th house. So, you know, the ones that come through that end up sticking generally are the ones that you have some kind of like, you know, karma with, right? That you clearly somebody owes somebody a favor. So there's going to be something that's going to go down where you're going to have some kind of like companionship. But I think it's time to kind of balance things out and to be seeking like bliss in other areas of your life. And that's really what you're going to be focusing on here for
the better part of like the next couple of months. Anyway, I hope that that's helpful. I wish that the Mars retrograde was in my 5th house. I remember that. I had that years ago. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a lot of fun. All right, so we've got Briana and then Cindy. You'll have to report back and let us know like how many lovers come through for you at that time. All right, so we've got Briana. Briana says, "Hey girl, my older son and I have had a really rocky relationship, and I feel like my desperation to be close to him is pushing us further away. I feel like a jealous girlfriend at this point. He's a Virgo sun, Pisces moon, and I'm an Aries sun, Cancer moon, Libra rising. What do I do to bring him back close to me? Has anyone done anything magically to keep us at odds? Thanks in advance." So one thing I would just say, being that, he's a Virgo sun, Pisces moon, Saturn's hovering around his moon, so there can definitely be a little bit of like distance or coldness with like mom or mother figures. And if he's a Virgo sun, Mercury's getting ready to go retrograde in Sagittarius, which can definitely bring opportunities to kind of like try to reconnect with home or family figures. So that can be a theme over the next month and a half. You just want to kind of let things come to fruition on their own, because the squares to Saturn means that he's not going to respond well to somebody like pushing it, right? And it doesn't matter how old a Virgo is, like they're always highly critical. Virgo suns are highly critical, especially if their sun squares their moon. So let's take a look. I mean, I think of like, you also being a Libra rising, right? And Cancer moon, your identity is wrapped up in being mom. And so part of what's happening is like, Mars is retrograding through your 10th house. So you're reevaluating your relationship, or your role as a parent. And as a Libra rising, Pluto just now recently entered into Aquarius. So it's in your 5th house. So it feels like there's a crisis brewing revolving around a kid or a child situation. And so perhaps maybe that's why this is like so intense for you right now. Your first child is your 5th house. So I don't know if he's your first or your oldest. But I would say that that's getting kind of like worked out here, especially as you're getting closer to February, that this could be better for communication. The card that I got for you is the 4 of Cups, which, this is a card that, yes, it can be a bummer, because like there can be this feeling of you going like, well, I'm not satisfied. Anything I do, it does not satisfy him. He is not happy with, what I say. I try to give him space. He ignores me. I try to communicate with him. He gets distant. It almost seems like no matter what you do, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And so I understand the way you're feeling. This is a card that also reminds you that there isn't a loss of a relationship. You may feel the lack, but it's not gone. Ace of Cups is still being handed to you, right? And you see like this offering, and the arms are closed, and it's like, well, they're offering me some kind of relationship or some kind of connection, but like it's not the way I want it. And God bless you, being a Libra rising, there's always this sense of going above and beyond for other people, right? And like always feeling like other people, maybe may not be as considerate with you, especially if your sun is in Aries in the 7th. You might feel like other people are selfish and combative, and they're not considerate, and you're always trying to do things for other people. And so rather than looking at the situation being like, well, I'm not content because I bend over backwards for them, but they're not doing it for me. So therefore, because I'm not getting the relationship the way that I want it. And there is this sense of that kind of coming through here, and not losing sight of the fact that there is still a connection. Yes, you don't have to accept what is being offered to you, especially if you feel like you're just being offered the bare bones, which I could see looking at these cards. I also feel like there is this sense with the 4 of Cups that if you decide to say, hey, I'm going to respond differently to this, or perhaps instead of, feeling disgruntled or agitated or annoyed, or, maybe there's been a back and forth, and now he realizes like you're at the mercy, right? Of when he decides when he's going to see you or when he's going to talk to you. And he sees your reaction, the way that you respond, the fact that you get upset, that you get kind of jealous or you feel rejected. He knows he has that effect on you. So it's about changing the way that you react to it. And instead of being like, well, what do you mean you don't want to hang out with me? You're like, why didn't you call me back? Or like, what's going on? It's just kind of like, okay. And I'm not saying you don't have to care, but
don't give that much of a reaction. And when you're not giving him the reaction, he's going to look around, he's going to be like, wait a second, what's going on? You know, suddenly she's not as upset, she doesn't care as much, like is something happening? You know, and you're going to see that he's going to kind of come around and be a little different. Pisces moon men, they need to be left alone. When you do that and you leave them alone, then all of a sudden they go, oh my God, why are you leaving me alone? And then they won't leave you alone. Give him that space, hold it, right? Leave the door open. And the way that you start reacting differently to him, I think is going to cause a change. Now, here's the card that I get for you in terms of the confirmation. This is the Two of Cups. So this is connection, reunion, coming together, spending time together, you know, and also like being able to kind of be on the same wavelength. It's pretty common when, I've experienced hundreds of client sessions, you know, guys, moms, you know, being around and Saturn's on their moon and they're like, oh, you know, there's just this heaviness in connecting with my mom, or they feel like mom's being demanding or that mom is being needy, and they don't know how to emotionally deal or how to relate. Okay, so that can be kind of coming up for him throughout that transit right now, but I do feel like there is a lot of room here for you guys to be able to kind of work through some of these issues and not feel so disconnected. And I really encourage you to pay attention to just how you're responding, because if you're responding differently, he's going to be like, whoa, something's going on here. In the next year, Pluto is in your 5th house of children, and Saturn is going to be sitting in your 7th house. So there's like a new beginning when it comes to relationships with other people, maybe new boundaries with other people, and like that's going to be really positive, because it might be that he's saying to you like, well, Mom, I just don't want to talk to you right now. So then when he does come around and he wants to talk, and then, it's on his time, you might be like, no, this isn't how this is going to work. I want to spend time with you and I talk to you too, but I'm not doing the back and forth with you. So let me know when you want to get together and we'll get together. And I think that you're going to start seeing that handling the situation that way is going to kind of put him in his place a little bit and make him realize he needs to respect you too, and not just decide that he's going to come around when it works for him. Right? Anyway, I hope that this is helpful. No worries. I'll see you next week, only an acre. We'll be here next week. We're going to be doing astrology. All right, so we have got Cindy, and then it looks like we got Kimberly. Cindy says, live tarot. Will the stalking stop, or is this something I will always have to live with? Oh my goodness, Cindy. Well, let's take a look. Hopefully you shouldn't ever have to live with a stalker. That's the worst. All right, so is Cindy going to have to continue to deal with this stalking? Is it going to cease anytime soon? What do we need to know? Oh boy. Interesting card to come up for this question. 3 of Cups. 3 of Cups with the Emperor card. The feeling that I get is with this card, 3 of Cups can be talking about 3 being a crowd, right? So it can be like people celebrating, coming together, but like in a situation like this, it's like, I don't know your situation. I don't know if it's either a situation where you have moved away, moved on, you're entertaining a new relationship, another person, you're open to meeting people, you're trying to connect, and you feel like that person is interfering, or you feel like that person does not want you to meet someone else, or does not want you to be in a relationship, or does not want you to be content, does not want you to be happy. Like there's an emotional investment here. It's not just somebody who's like some creep that's like obsessed with you. Like there's an emotional investment to either disrupt your ability to kind of have harmony and unity with another person, or, it's some situation where somebody like does not want to see you move on. Cindy says, I'm married, but the wackadoodle doesn't care. Yeah. So, I think that in this case, I don't see it impacting you. Like, I don't see it affecting your relationship or your marriage. Sometimes the 3 of Cups can come up indicating that like another person comes along and it's enough of a distraction that person like moves on, right? Like we can only pray that there's somebody else who kind of shows up that they become like fixated on, but it's possible. What's interesting is that the confirmation card is like the Emperor. So I could see this as like a husband, a father figure, an authority figure, a cop, a judge, somebody who like intervenes and they're like, look, dude, like you're not you're not going to get anywhere with this. Like somebody who kind of asserts their authority and is like really kind of like direct and kind of, yeah, like assertive and like not scary, but somebody who's basically going to kind of like, throw down with them and let them know that, it stops here, it stops now. Like there may be another person who gets involved that somehow like puts the fear of God into this person and actually keeps them away, as weird as it sounds. Usually like the emperor is somebody like that. Like it can mean that, if you feel like you're in a situation where, you can't go out, you can't socialize, or if there's somebody who's making comments or threats or maybe kind of showing that they have some kind of access to your private life or anything, like that you have reason to take it to somebody and be like, hey, like this is what's going on. And then you're able to get some kind of protection or protective order. Like that literally could be the emperor, like handling the situation, being like, yeah, we're not going to let this kind of continue. I would also say that the Three of Cups does talk about like safety and security and safety in numbers. So like going places and not being alone, being in a situation and, not being by yourself, not allowing yourself, or, maybe making sure that you're really aware of your environment when you go places, especially like when you're in public. Having people around you, making sure you're kind of keeping an eye on things. It sounds like this is something you've been dealing with for quite some time, so it sounds like but still I'm going to keep putting this out there. Like really this is about, going through this situation and feeling like you have strength and support from other people or strength in numbers and not allowing yourself to feel like you're disempowered in any way, shape, or form. But do I see it stopping? I feel like this person is incredibly jealous, obviously, and they want to intervene, and I don't think that's going to go away, but you may see that there is some kind of significant shift that's going to be happening for you sometime around the spring of 2025, especially as we're kind of getting into like Aries season, March, April, that kind of timeline is when we can start to see some change. Okay. All right. I know that we had Kimberly, and I apologize, Kimberly. I don't know if you're still here, but I can't get into my PayPal. My PayPal's not letting me look at my questions, so I'm trying to log in, but I know that we had you, so give me 1 second. Unless you're in the chat, then by all means, please send your question. I saw it was like some question regarding, oh, there you are. Okay, some question regarding, I think it said something rising. I think you're asking a question about another person. If you don't mind sending that to me in the chat, that would be really helpful. Good luck, Cindy. Okay. So what you need to know in regards to what you don't see coming. And that was for, I believe it was for one card. Is that correct? It's so funny how PayPal just picks and chooses when it wants to work. Pisces rising. Okay. So what you may not see coming. Let's take a look. Ooh, interesting. Card that you get is the Page of Swords, crossed with the Six of Cups. So, Page of Swords for me, I mean, I think about like, you said you're Pisces rising. Mercury obviously deals with relationships, right? So you're going to be having like your 7th house Lord going retrograde in your 10th. So there's like this back and forth maybe that you're going to be having people professionally, but it can also be about big changes in regards to your relationship status and like who you're working with, collaborating with, who you're in relationship with, and important conversations that are coming in regards to this stuff. Obviously, Page of Swords can be Gemini, it can be Aquarius, it can be Libra, but it can also be saying that there is like this beginning process of starting to kind of discuss and talk about what you need from other people. Shifting gears a little bit as like a Leo sun, right? I mean, obviously retrograde in your sign, you're going to have Pluto in your 7th house to your sun. So there's going to be major changes in relationships and like how you're kind of navigating your life. I feel like if I put it all together with your chart, this is about you going back and forth and being like, what am I holding on to and what am I letting go of? And that can be people, it can be work, that can be friendships, relationships, goals, something like that, that's kind of getting worked out. And the Six of Cups coming up with the Page of Swords is definitely about like thinking things over, before you have conversations. If somebody approaches you to talk about something that's kind of like heavy or a serious conversation, you're like, let me think it over, give me a little bit of time, I'll get back to you, you know, or let me really feel my way into it before I give you an immediate response. Because sometimes the Page of Swords has like a knee-jerk reaction in how it responds to things, and it can like blurt things out and say stuff too quickly, and it doesn't really think things through. So if you're going back and forth and having like a, you know, one-on-one conversation, you know, that's relationship oriented or career oriented or partnership oriented, or somebody approaches you from the past, take time to really think about your response. Don't just immediately respond to something, and think about how things have gone in the past and how you want to respond to them differently now. Like, I think this whole period that's coming up for you is giving you the opportunity for a lot of closure. That's really kind of the feeling that I'm getting. And it can be extremely therapeutic and really helpful in like moving forward and being able to kind of have conversations about, you know, what went down in the past, what didn't work, where there hasn't been a lot of clarity. You'll be able to kind of close some of those doors, you know, heal some stuff, and then move forward. And it's going to be helpful, I think, for you feeling more so empowered when it comes to making decisions about your relationship and also your professional life. And you're really learning from some of your past conversations and past mistakes, right? Anyway, I hope that that is helpful for you, Kimberly. Always good to chat with you. And that was Friday Night Tarot, you know, so I'm glad that I got some time to spend with you guys. I will be back next Friday. We're going to be doing astrology readings for the new moon in Sagittarius. You want to make sure you click the bell button below when you're subscribed. You want to also just be on the lookout for all the new stuff we're doing for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all that stuff over this next week. Everything's going to be on sale. We have lots of new stuff coming out, so check out the website, sign up for the newsletter. I will be back on Sunday doing astro weather. We're going to talk about Mercury going retrograde, so you don't want to miss that. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I appreciate it, and I will catch you all back here next time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.